So this is a strategy we really want to start using. Okay, now this is a more advanced strategy, so if we ever get stuck, we always go back to our proportional equation, okay, and our equivalent fraction setup, and we use our times and divide factors that way. However, if we should start learning how to do this times and divide method, and basically it's called unit analysis. Okay, and we can just keep unit analysis, essentially keeping track of units and understanding that times units will cancel with the divides unit. So times on top, divide on bottom is really the only math we really need to remember. So if I want to convert, there's my conversion factor. We have our rate. Okay, this is our rate here. There's 5 miles for every 8 kilometers. Okay, so that's our conversion factor. So we can convert 6 miles into kilometers by using our conversion factor in this way. So we first start off with 6 miles. Okay, so I'm just going to, there's my 6 miles. That's what I'm starting with. Okay, and then I'm going to use my conversion factor, 5 miles to 8 kilometers. But now we got to figure out, make sure we have it in the right direction. Okay, otherwise we will times instead of divide or divide instead of times. So in this case here, the way to make sure that we have in the right direction, we just need to make sure that we're going to cancel out the miles. So the miles has to be in the denominator. Okay, and then what will end up happening is we're going to be left with the kilometers units. So this is the same ratio as that one there, but all we have to do is make sure we have in the right orientation. Okay, and to do that, we just make sure that the units that we want to get rid of are going to be canceling in the denominator. So in this case, I want miles in the denominator, and this will give me the number of kilometers left over. So I get 6 times 8 times on top, divide by 5. So 48 divided by 5 gives me 9.6 kilometers. Okay, so 6 miles is equivalent to 9.6 kilometers. So the times on top cancels with the divide on bottom. Okay, so that's really important that we set it up in that way. So we can do these problems using this strategy. So we have 22 kilometers in 0.4 hours. Okay, we want to figure out, that's my rate. Okay, so this is my comparison here, which is my rate. Okay, so this is a factor I'm going to use for my conversion. And I want to start with 13.5 hours. I want to convert that into distance. Okay, now there's lots of ways to do this, but I want us to understand how this conversion or unit analysis strategy works. So I'm going to start with my 13.5 hours. 13.5 hours. And again, you need to make sure that you're keeping track of those units. And I'm going to use that conversion factor. So I'm going to times. Now to figure out what's on top and what's on bottom, I just need to remember I need to cancel out hours. So the hours need to go on the bottom. Okay, and the kilometers then must be on top. When I do the calculation, the hours cancels out, and I end up with 13.5 times on top times 22 divided by 0.4 hours. And that's going to give me 742.5. The units are going to be kilometers. Okay, because that's the units that are left over. So this is a strategy we can use. Now, most of us probably are familiar with kilometers per hour and really comfortable with that. We may have converted this to kilometers per hour and done it that way, but the point is really just showing the strategy and how we're keeping track of units. So we can do this one, the next one here, in a similar way. Okay, so we're not directly calculating the kilometers per hour, although that is definitely a strategy. We want to use this unit conversion strategy. So we're going to start with 105 kilometers, and then we're going to multiply by the rate. Now we want to get rid of the kilometers and end up with hours, okay, because we want to know how long. So to do that then, to cancel out the kilometers, we're going to put the kilometers on bottom this time, and hours on top. And you can see then that when we do this, the kilometers units cancels out. We're left with the hours units. Okay, and it's just times on top, divide on bottom. So 105 times 0.4 divided by 22 kilometers gives us 1.909. So I'm going to round that to 1.91. So 1.91 hours. Okay, so at this rate, it would take us almost 2 hours to drive 105 kilometers. Okay, so let's try the same strategy on this next problem. So it says we have 1 unit of gas molecules occupies 22.4 liters. So this is a unit rate here. Do this in orange. This happens to be a unit rate, although we don't need unit rates to do this. It happens to be a unit rate. We have another rate here. Comparison, 3 liters of gas weighs 9.4 grams. So there's another rate. Okay. So there's 15.4 units of gas present. So I'm going to start off with 15.4 units. Okay, so this is my 15.4 units. And we want to figure out the number of grams. Okay, well, we need to be able to figure out how many liters it has, and from liters we can convert it to grams. So I'm going to start off with my 15.4 units, but I want to get rid of those units and I want to convert it to liters. So I'm going to multiply by 22.4 liters divided by 1 unit of gas. And I know that I got the right orientation because these units are now going to cancel out. Now I have liters. I want to use my other rate now to convert this into grams. So I now have liters. I want to get rid of the liters and end up with grams. Okay, so there's my rate. Okay, this is not a unit rate, but we don't need unit rates to do this. As long as we keep track of the units, the liters cancels out. I'm left with grams as my units. From this point, all I need to do is, I have it all set up, times on top, divide on bottom. So then I'm going to do 15.4 times 22.4 times 9.4, and then divide by 1, divide by 3. So I end up with 1,080 grams, 0.87. Okay, so it's going to be 87 grams. Okay, so that's how many grams, 15.4 units of this substance, units of these gas molecules weighs. Okay, and again, the only thing that I would need to do is know what my ratios are, what my comparisons are, and make sure that I have, when I use my multiplying by my rate, I do it so that my units cancel out correctly. Okay, so all it is about keeping track of units.